Good morning, bonjour. Mon nom est Chantal Aubertin. Je suis l'attachée de presse du ministre Lametti. My name is Chantal Aubertin and I'm Minister Lametti's press secretary. Merci de vous joindre à nous aujourd'hui à l'occasion de l'annonce d'un financement pour cette importante initiative. I have with me the Honorable David Lametti, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, and Chief Thomas Neeposh from the Cree Nation of Mistissini. We'll have the opportunity to hear short opening remarks from each of our guests, and then we'll go to a Q&A. Just a reminder to please have yourselves muted with your camera off if you're not speaking. You'll have one question and one follow-up. S'il vous plaît, posez vos questions dans la langue officielle de votre choix. Feel free to ask your question in either official language. Vous aurez une question puis un suivi. Now I would like to turn to Chief Neeposh for his opening remarks.
Thank you, and it's an honor to meet the Minister Lametti. This is an opportunity for us to give you a little preview of what we've done under this project. Just a little overview on our community. It's a population close to 5,000, and our language and culture is still very strong. Our members still go out hunting throughout the year. And we have a very young population and educated population. So we're a modern community that came from back in the early 60s, from tents to where we are today with modern buildings. So our community's evolved a lot. And Crees have been known to manage their own affairs, especially in their hunting and trap lines. So it's very important for the Crees to manage their own resources and their land. So with that, I'm just going to run down with what we've done so far. So the Cree Nation of Mistissini is proud to be developing the Mistissini Governance Project, guided by our elders and all community members. And with Canada's financial support, this project is helping our nation bring traditional Cree law into our governance institutions and across our territory. Cree laws express Cree knowledge. Cree laws uphold Cree authority. Our laws are not new. They live as they always have, in the many ways in which our people thrive, in how we live on and with the land, in how we resolve problems, in our relations with our communities and all beings. But as times change, how we communicate and care for our laws also needs to change. Through this project, we are working on 4 fundamental laws that transmit the heart of Cree governance, accountability, and guidance. These laws uphold our legal relations with Quebec, with Canada, and with all the other Cree nations that make up the Cree EOSG, as well as the Cree Nation government. Most importantly, these laws set forth traditional Cree knowledge and authority in the form of legislation that clearly describes how our Innu and Duhuan, our laws and legal systems, values, principles, and practices apply today. After all, as our elder Philip Owasi says, without knowledge and transmission of EU customary law, tradition dies. These 5 laws are part of our nation's overall vision to enhance the quality of life for all our community members, while protecting our language, culture, and rights, and preserving our land and resources for the generations to come. While these laws are still being developed, I am proud to summarize their basic intent. First, the Mistissini Innu Chewiswewen, to be known as the Cree Nation of Mistissini's Constitution, describes fundamental Cree principles of governance and the roles and responsibilities of our council. It also describes the most fundamental concepts of how we relate to each other, our natural world, and Semendu, which is the Great Spirit. This is the foundation upon which leadership and law making must grow. The Cree Nation Mistissini government law provides for the transparent, accountable administration of our governing bodies and institutions. In respect of our Cree legal systems and our treaty, the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement, the Constitution of Cree Nation of EOSG, and our governance agreement with Canada. The government law sets out the structures, jurisdictions, and processes by which we make decisions as a modern Cree nation. A law will also be developed to provide clarity in a modern form as to how Mistissini hunting territories are organized and managed within and among families. This includes processes to clarify relationships and provide forms for dealing with disputes, protecting biodiversity, and passing on knowledge and authority. The Cree Nation of Mistissini Rights of Mistissini Lake Law recognizes the lake that is vital to our very existence and survival as a people. It sets out how Mistissini Lake as a living entity is respected, protected, and responsibly engaged with under Cree law. I don't know if you've been in Mistissini, but the lake is a very beautiful lake. We have some tourism activities happening in our lake. We have a lot of tourists visiting our lake, and also it's for our subsistence as Cree. So that the lake is very important to us. The other part is the developmental law will outline that would be required before the Cree Nation of Mistissini would consent to a development project in its territory, including consultation requirements, benefit sharing requirements, priority hiring, priority contracts, mitigation, site remediation, and so on. It will also lay out how decisions will be made internally within the Cree Nation of Mistissini and the role of elders, youth, and other local organizations in relation to discussions around development. So in a sense, since the agreement has been in place and also paid the BRAF, we're no longer observers, but participants in the development of our territory. The Cree Nation of Mistissini appreciates the financial support from the Canadian government for this important project. These 5 laws are not the beginning, nor are they the end of our work as a lawful nation of Cree people. We always have and we always will keep seeking to safeguard and sustain Mi'kmaq Matsuan, which is the state of balance in mind, body, and spirit, in our families, community, and territory. The Mistissini Governance Project is helping us to renew some of these obligations in written legislation. It is up to all of us to uphold them in practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Neeposh. Kwe, wachia, hello, bonjour. Greetings today from my home in Montreal, which is located on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, but has also been a traditional meeting place for many other Indigenous peoples, including the Wendat, the Cree, the Algonquin Anishinaabe, and the Métis peoples. I want to start again by thanking Chief Neeposh and his whole team that is here today, and reminding us through your remarks how fundamental and important the work that we are doing here today is to your people and really to all Canadians. We all know that a critical part of advancing reconciliation involves transforming the relationship between Indigenous peoples and the justice system. The need to do that is clear. Indigenous peoples have experienced and continue to experience systemic and individual acts of racism and discrimination at all stages of Canada's justice system. They continue to be tragically overrepresented in the criminal justice system as victims, as survivors, as accused, and as convicted. Indigenous people are rightfully calling for change and for greater control over their lives and their communities. This includes revitalizing and restoring Indigenous laws and legal traditions. There is important work underway on this front that our government is directly supporting. Guiding us along this pathway are the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls of action. Many of these calls to action relate to the need for fundamental changes to ensure true justice and equity for Indigenous peoples. Among them is Call to Action 50. Call to Action 50 calls upon the Government of Canada to collaborate with Indigenous peoples to revitalize their legal systems and to fund Indigenous law institutes for the development, use, and understanding of Indigenous laws, in accordance with the unique cultures of Indigenous peoples in Canada. En tant que juriste ou ex-professeur de droit, en tant que pluraliste, je trouve que ce sont des projets qui sont très intéressants, excitants et transformationnelle. Et donc, mon appui est non seulement un appui d'un ministre, mais aussi de quelqu'un qui vraiment croit dans le processus et dans le pluralisme juridique. Dans le budget de 2019, nous avons prévu verser 10 millions de dollars en 5 ans pour appuyer des initiatives de droits autochtones partout au Canada dans le cadre du programme juridique de partenariat et d'innovation. Ce programme vise à améliorer l'accès à la justice et s'attaquer aux nouveaux enjeux du système de justice canadien. These funds are supporting many innovative and exciting projects that are putting CTA 50 into action across Canada, which brings me to our announcement today. I'm pleased to highlight funding of close to $500,000 over 4 years to support the Mistissini Governance Project, which will revitalize Cree legal principles and traditions within their community, as Chief Neeposh has described. The project will support the integration of Inuit legal principles and values into a series of fundamental governance laws that will be applied across their entire territory. The Cree Nation of Mistissini will work closely with elders, tallymen, land users, and other community members to gather stories, teachings, perspectives, and practices. This exercise will ensure that Inuit values, traditions, and teachings are integrated into the laws to be developed. And you heard much of that from Chief Neeposh in that wonderful overview. And it was fun as a former law professor to have had your class this morning, Chief Neeposh. It was lovely. We are confident that this funding will help the community as they take on the sometimes challenging but vital work of revitalizing legal systems. This project today is one of many concrete actions we're taking to advance reconciliation. It includes our work to implement the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, which we are doing in full partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and the Métis. To get there, we will develop together an action plan to achieve the Declaration's objectives. In December, my department called launched a call for proposals to support Indigenous participation in this process and to support Indigenous-led consultations. The call for proposals is currently open, and we will work to ensure timely allocation of funds to successful applicants. Par ailleurs, nous continuons la négociation d'entente sur l'administration de la justice avec un certain nombre de collectivités autochtones. Cela donne suite directement à l'appel de l'action 42 de la Commission de vérité et réconciliation, soit la reconnaissance et la mise en œuvre par les gouvernements fédéraux et provinciaux de systèmes de justice autochtones. Les appels à l'action 50 et 42 en particulier sont des rappels puissants que l'autonomie gouvernementale et l'autodétermination des Autochtones doivent être respectées et, au besoin, rétablies. The Mistissini Governance Project is a wonderful example of how we can ensure there is space for Indigenous legal traditions to integrate and flourish in Canada's legal system. Together, we can help fulfill the promise and potential of reconciliation for all Indigenous peoples. In the words of Justice Murray Sinclair, we owe it to each other to build a Canada based on our shared future, a future of healing and trust. We're fully committed to achieving that objective. Thank you, Chief Neeposh, and all your team, and thanks to all of you today for all of your time. Merci, Megwich, Chinaskumitan. Watcha.
Merci beaucoup, Ministre Lametti. Maintenant, nous allons amorcer la période de questions et réponses. S'il vous plaît, utilisez la fonction « Levez la main » pour poser votre question et votre suivi. Si vous nous suivez par téléphone, appuyez sur étoile 6. Et si vous ne voyez pas les fonctions, vous pouvez peser les 3 petits points. We will now begin the question and answer portion of this announcement. If you would like to ask a question, please use the raised hand function, or if you're joining us by phone, please press *6. If you don't see these functions, please press the 3 little dots at the top of your screen. I don't see any hands raised. I will give maybe 30 seconds for those who are trying to potentially raise their hand. Great. Doesn't look like we have any questions. Cela fait fin à notre conférence de presse. Merci beaucoup à tous ceux qui nous ont joints. Thank you to all those who joined us today on this very important announcement.
Thanks, everyone. I look forward to coming up and visit you in Mistissini.
Thank you again. Appreciate all the support, and have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye, Catherine. See you.